Like, I didn't realize it was that crazy. And then Holy Shirts and Pants, I listened to the whole thing and I was like, damn, that was, I see your smiles.
It just kept it was one of those things that just kept going
and going and going and going and going.
He just get like, every time you thought, okay, like he just made his point, like he would be like, oh, and then he just dug into Rodgers like I've never seen someone before.
So Brad, can we play this video?
I want to give it a little bit of context first, because Nick right in the beginning talks about vaccinated and being vaccinated and whatever. So the reason he's saying that is because Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show talking about how, if you're a person of the media and you have something to say about him personally, or give any sort of football take, then you should have to give your vaccination status first. As we all know, Aaron Rodgers has kind of really picked on a lot of people who chose to get the jab. And so like, that's where this is headed. And so wanted to give that context before this clip. So just take a look at this and we'll react on the other side.
Thinks that he's the relative on Thanksgiving that nobody wants to, get caught in a corner with because this guy tells you the hard truths. When in reality, it's because you've told me to read 48 Laws of Power and about the Illuminati every Thanksgiving for a decade, and I'm tired of it. Let me be fair. I'm going to do exactly what Aaron said, because Aaron said before you comment on him, you should have to disclose your vaccination status. So double vaxxed, Pfizer, not boosted. Now, does that impact my opinion on Aaron Rodgers? No. You know why? Kirk Cousins not vaxxed. Nobody says a mumbling word about him. I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson's not vaxxed. I'm not sure. Best I can tell, Lamar Jackson won't even take Dayquil. My guy gets sick every year. He's going to win the MVP. The commentary is not about your vaccination status. It's about you being the most disingenuous athlete of my lifetime. You were disingenuous about the vaccine. That was annoying. Not the status, the way you did it. You were disingenuous about your retirement status. 90% retired. You were disingenuous about coming out of the dark room. I'm going to play for the Packers. That was my only goal. You were disingenuous about how well Verizon works in Southern California. You were then disingenuous about whether or not you wanted Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, Tim Boyle on your team, or if Joe Douglas is just quite simply the worst talent evaluator in NFL history. You were disingenuous about why Nat Hackett's the offensive coordinator. You're now disingenuous about your own comeback, which you were disingenuous about the entire time. So this is not about anyone's private medical decisions. It's about the biggest look at me Louie saying to his best buddy McAfee, why is everyone looking at me? It's so irritating. My God, and everybody knows it. I think AJ Hawk knows it. I think AJ Hawk is watching this like this guy's lost his mind.
Wow.
Holy shirts. Wow. By the way, if you're wondering how many times disingenuous was said, it was 9. It was 9.
Did you count?
Oh, I did. Nine times. 9 times was the word disingenuous. I have not heard disingenuous 9 times ever in my entire life. And I just heard it now. It's 18. I've listened to that twice.
That was
epic.
Yeah, he just got on such a rant. And like, I just want to know like what the producer was doing. Like, was the producer in his ear like, Nick, stop, Nick, stop, Nick, stop, Nick?
No, this was gold. This was content gold.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're all talking about, but I know there were people freaking out behind the scenes. Like, what is he about to say after this? Because it started as, okay, I'm a little riled up about this. And then I thought he was like going to rip the jacket off.
When a guy gets yelling like that, you don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming.
Imagine you're in studio. Go ahead, Brad.
Here's what I'll say to this. We're already seeing kind of like people on both sides of this in our own chat, or, in our own live stream. And I kind of see both sides, right? Because Aaron Rodgers, whether he was or was not, has seemed disingenuous. The optics looked that way from, he kind of skirted around whether or not he was vaccinated. We all know that story, right? And like with the whole, going out and coming back, and then with this whole Achilles thing, it's brought on a lot of questions. So, Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest, quarterbacks of all time. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of Pat McAfee. Probably one of my biggest idols, but you got to ask yourself, is there a point in time where Pat McAfee is going to have to think about distancing himself from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this is the second time that Pat McAfee show has been tied to somebody who has been kind of disingenuous or creating some issues like this. I mean, we saw with Jim Irsay and him talking about how he's discriminated against because he's a white billionaire, and like Pat not saying a word about that. Pat doesn't really say a whole lot about Aaron Rodgers' antics, and in fact eggs them on. So you almost kind of wonder at what point, and maybe this is just the hill that the Pat McAfee show will die on, and that's fine. They're crushing it. There's not much that can touch them at this point. You just got to wonder, though, like, how far can this go before something has to be said or something has to be done about it?
No, I agree. I think that it is one of those things where it's just like, it's just drama. Like, it's just added, I don't want to say added content, but it kind of is. Like, I think that's why McAfee continues to have Rodgers on, and that's why he's made it such a big part of it, is because of how controversial it gets. And he knows that it will stir stuff like Nick Wright going on an insane rant for however long, 45 seconds, just to kind of get off his chest his feelings about all that. And hell, he even got a personal shout out, and even shout out the McAfee show. So, I mean, it is one of those weird lines of, this is getting a lot of views. People want to see this, but is it the way we want to be getting views because of its controversy and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that ties into this, right? What, and this, you brought it up, Zach.
Mhm.
Whether you like Aaron Rodgers or not, now next week, probably he's going to be asked about, hey, Nick Wright went after you on the Pat McAfee show. And then that's going to be a conversation, and people are going to talk about it. And that's why you see people when they put out what people look at as quote unquote dumb shit, right? Like, why the hell would you do that? People do it because people like to get pissed. People react when they're pissed off or they're happy or it makes them laugh. It's those emotions, right? But most cases, the most reaction comes on controversy, which you just mentioned, Zach. And no one has been more controversial as far as when it's come to in the NFL and to kind of politics, however you want to put it, than Aaron Rodgers. And eventually, Brad, to your question, I think McAfee's going to roll as long as he wants, because McAfee runs the way that he wants to run. And he really kind of embraces what the good, bad, and ugly is going to be on his show. And quite frankly, the people that watch it, whether they like him or not, they keep coming back to watch more.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you look at what the media meta is today and what gets the most clicks. It's either immense success or drama. You see it with live streams, you see it with content, and you're right, it all just snowballs and spirals. And so, yes, Aaron Rodgers likes to be the center of attention. I think there is no doubt about it. That is kind of what, you look at Aaron Rodgers, great football player, but there has now been, it's not one incident, it's not two incidents, it just continues, another thing pops up. And I think the latest thing with the comeback is, with all this modern medicine stuff he's talked about and everything in every which way and whatever opinions I have about it, it seems like to me the drama, it's helping. I mean, it's getting clicks for Pat McAfee. I don't think he wants to go away from it solely because of that. But again, what happens if it escalates to another level and then another level? And then at that point, do you have to distance yourself? I don't think it'll happen. But with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he is so unpredictable and he wants to be the center of attention. It's almost like, what storyline is it going to be next week?
Yeah, I mean, this has been happening for years. I mean, this isn't anything new. I mean, it's always been something in the headlines about Aaron Rodgers that isn't related to football, whether it's, his family life, who he's dating. It just always seems like, especially during the off season, it's just like they just follow Aaron Rodgers. Like you say, he's the attention guy. He wants it to be on him. I think, he is one of those people where he loves the attention the McAfee show gives him, and he'll say controversial stuff because he wants to get this reaction from people. So, I mean, like you said, love or hate him, great quarterback, but man, just cannot stay away from controversy. He just loves the camera.
Yeah, holy shirts and pants.
Yeah.
Does he want to be around it? And look, I guess for me, I'm at a point now. You're right. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's old. It's old at this point.
It's the thing that when I tuned into Aaron Rodgers when he was on McAfee was I just liked hearing the perspective of football. I wanted to hear what was going on when he was talking football. I really didn't care about vaccine, no vaccine, all that type of shit. It doesn't matter. And I think that's where the problem is you're on a platform where you can talk about what you're going to be able to talk about, what you want to talk about. But personally, for me, I just want to hear us talk about what you saw, because you're one of the best quarterbacks to play. I'd love to hear the shit that goes on. And that's just me personally.
Mhm.
So the other stuff, hey, have at it. But, if you're going to keep talking about it and people are going to get pissed off about it or engaged with it, then it's not going to stop them from talking about it. That's the reality.
It's true. And I think for me, like, it's why you watch the Manning cast, right? You want the football perspective, and athletes, they are humans. There are perspectives to them that I like to know about athletes, and who they are off of the field and what they like to do, their likes and dislikes and all that. But it's a point now with Aaron Rodgers in particular where it's gone so far beyond that, where Rodgers has a great football mind. He's someone who's done a lot, and we now know what his personality is, and it's, look at me. I'm here. Don't look at that. Look at me. This is who I am. And I don't know. I feel like there is a different level to it with Aaron Rodgers that we've surpassed now.
Oh yeah. And this point to Bob's place. Hey, Bob, was it what we say? Pocomoke?
Pocomoke.
We're bringing it back.
Pocomoke.
But, guys like, not taking him for Rodgers, don't really care for him, but these guys like Nick Wright fall into this trap instead of just ignoring him. Well, and this is the game of media, right? It's how do you draw attention? Really, it's what it is. And that's part of it. We like being entertained. And that's part of, for me, personally, would I do that of going on a rant? No. I don't give two shits enough to go off. But was it entertaining to some? Yeah, it was. And Nick knows how to push the points, and some people are going to be like, hell yeah, Nick, I'm behind you. And then other people are going to be, well, what the fuck is he getting all upset about? That's just the way this world works. It can be exhausting. We can be exhausting at times, I'll admit, but at least we admit we can try to be exhausting.
Yeah, we try. I mean, it happens.
We try to not be. We try to not be.
Stuff happens sometimes,